Lemon, do an episode on balance. Lemon, how do you balance everything? Y'all, I get these questions at least once a week from somebody in my circle. And so today I'm going to share how I create really effective routines. And it all starts with micro habits and my famous habit loop. So I will see you guys in this episode. Be sure to take some notes because this is going to really set you up for success and really help give you the life that you want. So I am excited. I know that's a big promise, but I have lived it, so I know that it works. I will see you on the inside. Hey friend, welcome to Milk and Honey with Lemon. The Bible says in Numbers 14:8, and if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. On this podcast, we talk about stepping into that overflow that God has for us by becoming those ultimate Proverbs 31 women. Hey, I'm Lemon. I am just like you, sister friend. I knew God had something more in store for me, but I couldn't see a way out of the laundry piles. And frankly, I resented that Proverbs 31 woman. How was I going to live up to the hype? That is until I found out how to really step into becoming this Proverbs 31 woman through leadership development. In this podcast, you're going to find financial freedom, leadership growth, and motivation so you'll be able to do all the things God has called you to do with ease and really step into that land of milk and honey. Hello, sister friend. I'm so excited because today we're going to talk about creating some new routines and how do you create them for financial freedom and spiritual growth and family wellness? Like, how do we do all of the things? Something I get asked all the time. I get this email on a regular basis. I hear it from my team. How do you balance it all, Lemon? How is it that you're able to have a garden, make bread from scratch, and lead a team, and podcast, and work on your book? Like, how do you do it all and spend time with your family? How does that happen? I'm going to tell you, first of all, there's no such thing as balance. I think that is a word we're just going to have to remove from our vocabulary in 2024. There is no such thing as balance. Something is always going to require more time, more energy from you, and that can shift day to day, hour to hour. And so instead, I want us to think about some synergy here. Things are flowing. We're operating from a place of rest and not stress. Because I find that when women tell me they can't juggle it all, and they're having a hard time, it's because they're operating from a place of stress. And it's this frantic energy of I have to get everything done. So I actually want to share that first of all, I used to be that person. I used to feel very frantic and overwhelmed. And then I burnt out. I was trying to do all the things and I didn't have nearly as much on my plate as I did back then. But I burnt out because I was in full hustle mode and I was worried about getting everything done. And that's when Instagram feeds were super curated and beautiful. And so I was like, I need to be aesthetically pleasing and all these things. And there was a lot of pressure. And of course, I put the pressure on myself to accomplish all of these things. There was no external deadlines. Like I created my own deadline. And so I burnt out. I got to a point where I was doing too much and I completely tapped out. I actually drove myself to the emergency room because when my stress level gets too high, I end up with migraines. And not just, oh, you have a migraine. No. The first time it ever happened, my stress level was extremely high. And I ended up in the hospital in Delaware for 6 straight weeks. 6 weeks of me being in the hospital trying to figure out what the problem was. And it came down to stress. And then the more they told me to relax, the more stressed out I got because I cannot relax. And so it was this vicious cycle. And so I say that to say, this is where I got a few years ago. It was 2015, 2016. I got to this place where I'd burn out because I was trying to do all the things and I wanted to be on my A game and I wanted all of the habits and I wanted to accomplish all the things. And so I burn out again and ended up in the hospital, couldn't see. So when I get a migraine, my vision starts to go. And so I couldn't see. My stress level was high. My blood pressure was high. Like all these things were super high. And so they put me on bed rest for 3 weeks. Now, you're a mom. You're a go-getter. Could you imagine being on bed rest for 3 weeks? And when they put me on bed rest, because I worked from my cell phone, I wasn't allowed to work on my phone. I wasn't allowed to have my laptop. I wasn't allowed to do the things that I normally do. I just had to sit and relax. And that was hard. It was so hard. And so I don't want you to ever feel like you have to balance everything and make everything perfect, because it's never going to happen. And so how do you create solid routines? So I'm going to teach you a little bit about my friend called the Habit Loop. I love the Habit Loop. The Habit Loop is posted in my Facebook group. So if you're not in my Facebook group, there's actually a graphic. I'll post it on Instagram for you guys as a resource to go and check out, because I love the Habit Loop. So the Habit Loop, and I wish you guys were, go to my Instagram or go to the Facebook group, lemonprice.co/community, to go find it. So you can look at this while I'm talking about it. So think of a circle with 3 points on it. And so at the bottom of the circle, or in the middle of the circle, wherever, on the side, on the left-hand side, there's a cue or a trigger. And that cue or trigger, or you can think of it like a triangle, the bottom of the triangle, you've got your cue or your trigger. This is the thing that your brain is craving, right? You're like, it's the thing that triggers your brain to want the thing it wants. So like a habit for me, a cue or a trigger for me is, oh, the kids have gone to bed. I'm watching a show by myself. I would really love an Andes Mint out of my freezer, because I feel like it's a little reward for myself. And so I go to my freezer, I get an Andes Mint, and I sit and I like enjoy my little piece of chocolate. Okay. It's like a habit I have every night. So the cue or the trigger, though, for me is that I'm alone. I'm alone now watching my movie, my show, whatever it is I'm doing. I'm alone. That's the cue or the trigger. Then you have the routine. So in that example, the routine for me is that I go to my freezer, I get an Andes Mint, and I come and I sit back on my couch. So the routine, most people think the cue and the routine are linked, that there's like a trigger in your brain, and so it starts the habit. Now, the third piece of this habit loop is the reward. Your brain is looking for something. And I want to be clear, rewards are both neutral. That's it. They're neutral. They're not positive and they're not negative. A reward is a reward, and your brain assigns the value to it. That could be if you're like, I really want to get in shape, but I don't actually go to the gym. The reward maybe in your brain is, I feel really relaxed right now. I feel super relaxed right now. And my body doesn't have to hurt, and I didn't have to sweat, and I didn't have to drive to the gym. Those are all rewards. Even though you tell yourself you really want to lose weight, to tone up, whatever it is. But that's the reward you're giving yourself. There is always a reward at the end of a habit. And so everybody thinks in order to change the outcome, you have to change the habit. You have to change the routine. But what you actually have to do is decide what the reward is that you want. Because in reality, even though it's a triangle and it goes cue/trigger, routine, and then to the reward, everybody thinks that's the sequential order. But in reality, the cue or the trigger and the reward are what's linked. When that trigger happens, your body is seeking the reward, and it doesn't care how you get that reward. So for you, let's say you now are listening to this and you're like, wait a minute, I want my reward to be like, I feel good in the morning. Maybe I've spent time with God first thing in the morning. And so the routine has to change. And so I actually tried this with my family. The kids were a little slow getting ready in the morning, but they want to watch some little cartoon that's 5-10 minutes before they get on the school bus. But they were never ready in time to do it. And so for them, though, the reward was they got to sleep 5-10 minutes later than they were. But what they actually wanted was to be able to like watch something like a little cartoon. And of course, because they are brothers and they are competitive, one of them wants to get ready before the other one, so that way they could be the one to control what little cartoon they watch. Okay. And y'all, we have PureFlix, so it's not like they're like watching something weird. They're watching PureFlix. Anyway, they decided, they said, wait a minute, Mom, what I actually want is to be able to wake up and be able to watch, like I want to start my day being able to watch something on PureFlix. And I'm like, okay, great. So then I put these little habit loops around the room. Okay, great. When you wake up, make your bed. The reward is like your room is clean, right? The night before, when you brush your teeth, I want you to pick out your clothes, and the reward is it's faster to get ready in the morning. And so these habit loops are all around their room, and they can look at them and decide whether the reward that they want is worth the habit that they have created. So there are some mornings they wake up and they look at me and they're like, I would rather sleep for 5 or 10 minutes. I feel like I need it. Great, no problem. And there are other mornings that they are up and ready before I've even made it out of like my bedroom to their bedroom to make sure that they're up because they want that reward this morning. And so you have to decide when you're creating routines for yourself, when you're deciding what you want that to look like for yourself, you have to decide what you want the reward to be. Make a conscious decision on what you want the reward to be. What do you want your life to look like? And start with micro habits. I don't encourage you to throw away everything in your pantry, wake up 3 hours earlier. Don't do that. Do not do that. Start by waking up 15 to 30 minutes earlier than you are now. Let's create a nighttime routine. Let's create a habit of on the first of every month, we sit down and we review the finances from the month before. Did we spend the way that we wanted to? Was it aligned with our values? Did we do the things that we said we wanted to do? So I want you to get really clear about what do you want the reward to be? And then we can backward plan what the routine is behind that. And you can loop your whole family into that. And so that is the easiest way I would tell you to do that. The other thing I'm going to tell you is very important in this balancing act is that, which again, I don't really believe you can ever balance. I want you to look at your calendar. And I just did this with a friend at this point now. By the time this episode dropped, it'll be in like 2 months ago. But we sat down and we looked at her day. And I said, what do you want? When do you want your time with God? Because that's first and foremost. When do you want your time with God? So we literally blocked it out on our calendar. Sunday to Saturday, this is my time with God. It's busy in our calendar. Okay, great. When are you making breakfast and like hanging out with your family? What does that look like? Okay, great. It's this time. She homeschools. Okay, how long does it take you to homeschool? Okay, it takes me 4 hours. She has 5 kids. Okay, great. So she blocked the 4 hours in her calendar. Okay, great. Now, when are you going to eat lunch? Okay, it's going to take us about an hour between cooking, making lunch, cleaning up, all those things. Okay, great. When does your husband get home and when do you want to start family time with him? Okay, I want to start from this time to this time. Okay, great. So then we sat and we looked and she realized she only had 2 to 3 hours a day in her schedule that she could dedicate to her business. And her family was getting a majority of her time, which is actually what she wanted. That was actually what she wanted. And she felt like her time was divided and it was split and she couldn't make things happen. We blocked out her vacations, everything. It's blocked. It's done. And so when you're deciding what habits you're going to create and what rewards you want and what those routines are looking like, I want you to decide where's your time with God going and put that in your calendar and block it so nobody can book a meeting with you. Your phone's on do not disturb during that time. Like, when is that time? When are you eating lunch? I literally had to put that in my calendar because I won't eat lunch if I don't. When are you doing that? When are you making dinner? When are you having breakfast? What time do you go to the gym? Whatever things that you want to accomplish, put them in your calendar and block it out. And then you can sit down and you can say, all right, where else can I fit things in? What are my non-negotiables? What does this look like for me? And start creating the micro habits that fit into the reality that you want to have for your family or for your life right now. What does that look like for you? And block it out. And then, like I said, go back to that habit loop and decide what is the reward that you want and what triggers you to want that reward. Maybe take an inventory, a little thought inventory this week of, hey, when this happens, it actually triggers this response from me, but I want to change that. And so just be intentional and aware. And again, don't change every single habit you've ever had today. That will set you up for failure. Start with one thing. I always like to say, make it a goal to be 1% better each day. So maybe your 1% better is that instead of letting your clothes sit in the washing machine because we forgot to rotate the laundry, your 1% better today is that the clothes made it into the dryer before they started to smell weird. Maybe that's your 1% better. Maybe your 1% better is while you're doing dishes or something, you put a podcast on instead. This one. Maybe that's your 1% better. Do not make it a goal to go 0 to 100. make it a goal to be 1% better. And it starts with what are the rewards that you want? And then we create the routines that fit. So I hope this is helpful. Go check the Habit Loop out on Instagram or join the community. Be sure to tag me in your takeaways. I would love to hear a takeaway that you have or a challenge that you're going to tackle, a new routine that you want to create. And then if you are like, I need to create some serious new routines, I want to invite you to my Sacred 60 challenge. It runs anytime you decide to sign up. There's a pop-up Facebook group for it where you can just be supported and poured into. And we are creating new micro habits every 10 days together over 60 days. So I would love to have you come join me there. The link is in the show notes, or just go to sacred60challenge.com/lemon to sign up for the Sacred 60. Hopefully I will see you either in that community or in the Facebook group with the Habit Loop. And I will talk to you all later. Bye, friend. Hey friend, what a joy it has been to share today's journey with you. If you found a spark of inspiration or a nugget of wisdom that resonated, would you bless someone else by sharing this episode with them? It could be the encouragement they need to step into their purpose and calling. Also, if you could spare a moment to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I really appreciate your feedback, and it really helps our community grow. Remember, the road to discovering God's call for you isn't one you have to walk alone. So join me again next Monday for another episode where we'll continue to explore the depths of leadership and the heights of our heavenly calling. Until then, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep trusting in His plan. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye, friend.